Welcome to the kitchen where we make everything but pasta. Today I have a special guest with me here today, and that's my daughter who's going to walk us through a garlic flatbread recipe. So I'm going to hand it over to her and she'll walk through the ingredients and the recipe itself.
So the ingredients we'll need for today's recipe include a pinch of sugar, 1 teaspoon of dry active yeast, 3/4 of a cup of warm water, 1/4 of a cup of crushed dried mint. If you don't have mint, use the herb of your choice, but I find that parsley and oregano work really well for this recipe. 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 clove of garlic, which we'll mince, and 1 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. All right, so that's the ingredients that we'll need for today, so let's get started. In our water, we're going to dissolve the pinch of sugar, and then we're going to add our yeast just on top. Stir it, and let's stand for about 10 minutes until it gets frothy. We'll combine 2 tablespoons of the olive oil with our yeast mixture. As you can see, it's nice and frothy now. So we'll add our salt to the flour and just give it a quick whisk. And we'll combine the flour 1/4 cup at a time until a sticky dough forms. I've reserved about 1/4 of a cup of flour, but I'm going to knead the dough for 5 minutes, and if I feel that I need more flour, I'll add it then. After about a minute, you can turn it out onto the board and continue kneading. I'm using some of the reserve flour just to, when it gets too sticky, just to loosen it up a little. So after 5 minutes, the dough is not sticky anymore, but it's super soft. You can see that this is kind of what it looks like. And we're gonna put it in a bowl to rise. We're just gonna coat the bowl with the remainder of our olive oil. And I just like to turn it around to get all the parts of the bread coated in the olive oil. So now I'm just gonna cover it with a tea towel, let it sit in a warm place for about 1.5 hours until it's doubled in volume. So it's been about 1.5 hours and the dough has doubled in volume, and we're just gonna turn it out onto a floured tray, or we just like to use the silly pat. And we're just going to form it into our dough. And when you're forming it, you actually want to keep these little dimples because that's where the oil and garlic mint mixture is going to settle into. And so it creates these little craters for the flavor to sit. So I'm just forming it into a nice rectangle, and then I'm actually going to create those divots that I had earlier for it. It should be about 1/4 of an inch thick. It's gonna sit for another 45 minutes, so it's going to rise again. And so you don't want it to be too thick because it will still rise, but not too thin either. And then just before you let it rise, just go over it and add these little dimples. So cover with a tea towel and let sit for another 45 minutes. So while we're waiting for our dough to rise, we're just gonna make our garlic mixture. I have 1 tablespoon of oil, and I'm going to grate 1 garlic clove. And we're going to add our 1/4 cup of mint flakes. Just give that a nice stir. And now we just need to wait for our bread to rise.
Once the flatbread has risen, place it into a 400-degree oven for 13 minutes. After 13 minutes, take the flatbread out of the oven, brush on the oil and herb mixture, rotate it, and cook for an additional 5 minutes until it's lightly golden.
So that's it, your bread's now ready, and we're just gonna slice it and enjoy.
In our family, we like triangle slices best, but really any shape will do. This bread goes really well with a Moroccan beef stew like we have in this picture, but you can do it with any type of gravy or stew. Leave a comment if you'd like us to share that recipe in an upcoming video. Thanks for watching. Bye!